Hey everyone, welcome to Rehash the Rolls. I'm your host, Nick. Before we get into our questions, a couple of usual reminders. We've got this Friday our next episode of Heroic Tales. Super excited for that, and especially for me to see how dead is Furlon then. What is he dealing with now? Um, then next week, Thursday, of course, is the regular episode of Ready to Roll. And aside from that, I think there's nothing really coming up that soon.
We have distractions and diversions on the
Oh,
12th.
Monday.
I apologize. I did not know. So we do have something on Monday. Distractions and diversions. Do you have a game lined up for that yet?
We have a few ideas. We don't have a
Okay.
firm idea,
Yeah.
but yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it'll be something, but
Yes.
yeah. Oh, you can find out on Monday. Come watch. Anything else that I missed? All right, then let's continue on with our wonderful three guests tonight. We have Braden, who plays Corbett, Sarah playing Galena, and Patrick, our DM. So, our first question will go to Sarah. This one's just, I felt like it's a little more fun. Galena said that her mother warned her about bards. So, does Galena's mother have a specific bad experience, or is she just kind of cautious in general?
Just cautious in general. I was
Yeah.
just thinking of the experiences that I had when I was learning about D&D and watching different shows and channels on D&D and learning about the different character classes. And I had no idea that that was like a stereotype of bards at first. So I thought it would be funny if Galena was warned about bards in advance, especially since we have one in the party.
Yeah. Would you say then that do you think Galena's mother buys into stereotypes a lot?
See, that's the thing. Does she? Or did she just tell Galena that? How much of what Galena says my mother told me is what her mother actually believes? And how much is it what her mother wanted Galena to believe?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Or so how yeah, Galena was in the tower. Has it been a long time since she's spoken to her mother? Is it possible that Galena is an unreliable narrator in this?
When it comes to time, she is not very good at keeping track of time. So if she gets asked how long has she been away from the tower, she'll say anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, maybe. Yeah. So you'll notice that as the game goes on, whenever she's asked about time, her rough estimate could be years or even decades off, and she'll say maybe.
So even 3 to 6 weeks could be a lot longer.
Could be a maybe. Because I was thinking, if you're playing someone who could live to be 600 years old, and she's been in a tower, so it's not like I have to remember on Tuesday I have my hair appointment, and I have to remember on Thursday to take the dog to the vet. And like, we have reasons why we have to keep track of what day it is and time and stuff, but she didn't have that, so she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see how much of her backstory we get to unravel. Let's go to Braden now. So this kind of came up a couple episodes ago, but it's still definitely relevant. Uh, Tian
Mm.
has been spotted, and in the more recent episodes, we've had some extra wrinkles for that. But just with that, are you concerned about the fact that, or is Corbett concerned about the fact that his friends haven't tried to reach out?
He is slowly, probably like during the journey on the Seahawk, he probably started actually thinking about it more. I was like, if Tian like was okay, why didn't he like, tell me it was him specifically that knew where I was or knew where Corbett was, or why didn't he come to Norgarn and pick me up essentially, and all that stuff. So, um, but at first, no, he was just like, Tian, he's okay, type of a thing. Like, yes, he's like my, at least one of them I can get some answers. There's a clue. But as the more he heard, like the wicked, weird looking, scary looking sword he carries now, and just all the fun little details. He's like, hey, a little more suspicious. Um, Probably because of all the people who have betrayed us throughout the campaign. He's like, Tian, please be okay. So
Yeah,
he doesn't fully like suspect him, but like there's a little unsettledness that Corbett has.
yeah, for sure. I'm going to go to a follow-up question here since it was already brought up. Yeah, sorry, kind of find it. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I'll still, no, actually, the follow-up that I have, I'm gonna ask later still. Sorry.
Okay.
But, yeah, instead let's then expand on this trader and other type ideas. Patrick, one of our viewers wants to know, what kind of nightmare realm do you live in that you created a scuba ship mimic?
I mean, I wouldn't say a nightmare realm, but I mean, you just kind of, sometimes every once in a while as a DM, you get, so the way I came up with that encounter was, I haven't run a lot of encounters on the high seas before. And so I Googled random encounters that could happen on the high seas. And the suggestion I saw was that the boat was infested with mimics and that they had eaten the crew. And I took it one step farther and was like, what if the entire boat was mimic? And so in actuality, the boat is actually, the boat itself is an amalgamation of a bunch of mimics working together to be one giant, mimic. But I mean, I wouldn't call it a nightmare realm, but that's how it came to be. Is just the you see, generally, I mean, it's, I could go into a whole spiel about why this is the way it works, but generally, when you are a storyteller of any sort in this day and age, due to what is called the Gutenberg parentheses, but we won't go into that here. You take your inspiration from other things, and so when I saw that idea, I built on top of it and was like, yeah, I think a giant mimic ship would be hilarious. And then you all guessed right when you were trying to guess what it was. So that's how it came about.
No, honestly, I agree 100%. Like, that is the natural, logical thing for it to be. Just like, if the ship's infested with mimics, no way the ship's not a mimic. It has to be.
Yeah.
It just has to be.
Exactly. I mean, if you view the mimic as, you know, predators who rely on traps. It's just the next natural step. Natural human. It's just on a boat. In most instances, most people are going to, want to, if they see a derelict boat, they're going to want to pull over and see what. If you're driving on the side of the road and, like in the middle of nowhere, and you see a car on the side of the road, your first instinct is to pull over and see what's wrong. Of course, you don't necessarily always want to follow that instinct, but it is, I believe that humans are good people, and so that's that.
Yeah. It's an
Nightmare
interesting
world. I live in the same world as everyone else, okay?
nightmare world. Believe that humans are good people.
There we go. Can I have a follow-up random question to Patrick? What would have happened if we all went into the belly of the ship instead of the captain's quarters?
I mean, as you had gone, if you'd gone further down, the mimic would have mimicked, and the belly of the ship would have looked like a cargo hold or something.
Would have
It wouldn't
swallowed us, just like that.
possibly. But I mean, I have to remember that my players who are motivated by pure altruism are no longer with us at this point, and I'll have to find other ways to motivate you guys to take plot hooks. Jury's still out on Galena, of course. Maybe she's the altruistic one out of all of you guys.
Yeah. Looking down to the side, see that.
She's also a very squishy wizard, so it's a good thing she has Luchik.
Yeah, it was actually a good thing. I was very impressed with the usage of Luchik this last session.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
We have a Pokemon.
Well, back to Braden. Back to a bit more about Captain Leodov. Aside from the tidbits about Tian, what did you find the most concerning out of the things that Corvette learned from Captain Leodov?
Concerning. Just, he wouldn't say he's surprised Corvette is not surprised that, quote unquote, his father, if Tian actually did get this message from his father, sent a crew to be his entourage. He's not necessarily surprised at that, but he is concerned about it because it's like, he's like, my dad wants to keep an eye on me. He's like, and I don't trust my dad. So that's like his issue with just kind of having the crew. But at the same time, he's like, they're also, hey, it's really nice to have a ship now and kind of just have them at our beck and call for what we need to use it currently. So,
Yeah, ship Ex Machina.
Yes. But yeah, his biggest concern, just from kind of the whole, like, having Captain Leodov and the crew and the ship, is mainly the fact that it was sent by his father, and his father, he knows, loves him, but more in a way of, hey, my son, the Aesimer, noble, look at him type thing. Like, he's using Corvette to prop him up. And then Corvette just doesn't trust him because of all of that. And so he's like, this is going to be a pain in the butt sometime when he kind of butts in the way of our kind of quest to actually save the world. So that's his biggest concern, besides the whole Tian issue.
Yeah, so it's not even anything that Leodov spoke about, just the fact that he's there.
Yeah. He's like, hey, this is nice, but I don't trust it at all.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna use you while I can. So he's like, a little torn on that, but that's kind of where he stands.
Yeah, there definitely have been some like friendly, banterish kind of conversations, and I mean the captain was very forthcoming with like that I don't know, storm control room sort of thing. But yeah, there's always a chance that Corbett's dad, Patrick, has something else planned.
Oh, always a chance. There usually is with his father, to be honest. There's always an ulterior motive.
Yeah. All right, then. Next one for Sarah. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama in the group. What's it like for Galena to kind of watch this drama of her party members?
Well, when it doesn't involve her directly, she's happy to just spectate. Sit to the side, watch all this interaction between people that she's missed out on for so long.
So it's kind of don't care too much, but it is nice to be around people. Or
Yeah, and you have to realize she hasn't been with them very long yet. So at this point she isn't as emotionally attached to all of them yet. So them having all these hiccups in their lives doesn't hurt her feelings yet anyway. Right? So she can kind of just sit back and watch it all. And she's still trying to figure out, who are these people? What are they like? What are they about?
why do they keep saying that they're saving the world?
Exactly. They're obviously delusional.
Oh, what fun to watch these guys. I had something else come up, but oh well. Let's just move on to Patrick. So this question is, was Antivin a planned romantic attachment for Jelania? And where did he come from?
So, no, not at all. Yeah, so a few months ago, when we were headed to Norgarn, Lydia messaged me and said, "Hey, I have these two characters I just thought of for Jelania's backstory that I was hoping that we could implement somehow." I was like, "Okay, send me a little bit about them, and we'll discuss." And I'll try to stick them in somewhere. And so she sent me the backstory for Edina and Antivin. And so I read through it, and obviously when a DM hands you, when a player hands you NPCs, you try to live as true to their vision as possible, or like what the player has. At least not all DMs do this, but at least I try to. Sometimes you mess with them a little bit, like Svetla. But so anyway, I looked at it, and when I read the way that she presented the characters to me, I very much got the feeling that at least in my mind, that Antivin was had basically had like puppy dog love for Jelania when they were younger, and so that's how I chose to present him. And so it just kind of evolved from there. Like it wasn't planned. Honestly, I expected both Edina and Antivin to be like one-off characters that were there, but so the first time they interacted, Lydia was like, "Cool, I want to go talk to Antivin." He's like, "Okay." And then Lydia kept coming back to talk to Antivin, and I was like, I did not expect her to want to talk to Antivin this much, but okay. And then it just kind of grew from there until one day Lydia was like, "Okay, I have this idea." So it was Lydia's idea first. And so Lydia presented the idea to me, and I was like, "Cool, sounds juicy and dramatic. Let's do it." And so that's how Antivin came to be, and that's how Antivin is part of the party, and has the role that he has.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I feel like it you want to stay true to the character that they give you, in that, like, for me, what they write happened. Whatever they give me as the NPC, that happened, and I have to make sure that that's true.
Yeah.
But unless they have more specifics, like, oh, they did this because, like, your player has insights into the thinking behind the character. Well, then you have to fill that in, don't you? As the DM.
Exactly, and it was interesting. We're having a conversation, and then I asked Lydia, "What did you think Antivin was going to be like?" And she was like, "Oh, I thought he was going to be a jerk, like Adina is." And then I was like, and at least in my mind, when I read the character, I was like, "Nah, the reason that he abandoned Jelania when they were young is because he got into this arranged marriage, and he kind of to make the person that he was going to be married happy to happy, kind of had to like distance himself from her arch nemesis. So but yeah, so that's how he came to be, and that's why he's here.
Yeah. All right. This one is for Patrick and Sarah. I think it's kind of two questions on the same premise. So Jelania, Corvette, and Piotr have now all had visits or visions from powerful beings. To Patrick, I think. I don't expect an answer to this, but I'll read it for you, audience. When is Galena gonna have one?
I can neither confirm nor deny that will even happen at all.
Yeah. But for Sarah, just as a hypothetical, this question is written: if she could choose to be visited by a being, which would it be? As in Galena. I'm also interested in if Sarah could choose, which would it be?
I don't think I've played in the world long enough to have a person in mind yet.
I guess what kind of person though? Like, do you think you can speak to that?
Well, at the moment, she might want to meet this Maeve and find out why her? Why does she have to be with these delusional people? Does Maeve really actually even exist? She was curious about the Fae before this, but is this Maeve a real person? But then, if she did have a dream, would she really believe it was real, or would she think it's just because she keeps getting told about this person?
Oh,
good point. Maybe it can be pretty convincing though.
Maybe it's better if she never meets her.
Maybe. But I mean, what I will say is at this point there is, obviously there is interest in Galena from the higher beings because of the company she is keeping, and because of other connections she has. But currently, no offense, Galena just hasn't done anything to be of interest. She just barely started her real journey. Plot appropriate amount of time ago, and so that's currently she doesn't have and like it's so if you look at all the other they all all the other characters who've had these visitations, they've done things and they have reasons to be of interest. Jelania is probably the first tiefling ever to cry out to Saint Yarick and and expect an answer, not like cry out in like frustration but not actually expect something, but like she's probably the first one to have cried out and like expect an answer. Corvette obviously has the attention of his patron saint, his his bloodline saint and his and Eladin. And then the only reason Piotr got visited by Maeve is because Maeve needed Piotr to do something. It is 100% possible that Maeve will never talk to Piotr again at this point.
No, that but Maeve identified Galena as someone important. So whether or not there are other beings who are interested in Galena because of her past, Maeve certainly is.
And Maeve identified Galena, if I'm remembering how I phrased the conversation, because of the potential power, that she could provide,
Yeah,
and potential power that she could get access to.
yeah.
But beyond that, Maeve is, Maeve could care. I mean, 100% honest, beyond the fact that all these people owe her a favor and are involved in these events, Maeve could care to Silver's less about any of them. So it's just because of the events that they're involved in and the the fact that they owe her.
I'll take that. I'll accept that. Acceptable. Keep your secrets well.
Yup.
Braden, as a viewer, Eldon's becoming creepier and creepier. Is Corvette feeling the same? Becoming concerned?
Corvette is a mixed bag of jumbled emotions when it comes to Bronislav and Eladin, and Patrick bugs the heck out of me when the talks, because because Braden gets frustrated. But Corvette, he honestly probably sees it less, because he knows what Eladin has done to help him, like what power he's gotten from Eladin. He's seen the things he can do, so he honestly probably sees it a bit less than other viewers, other people, and that's why he's like, our team was super concerned about it, and again, that's from an outside perspective and probably seeing things that Corvette doesn't, and Corvette again probably should listen to them, but he also just has trust issues with Bronislav and just Saints helping him in general. So that's where he's. Yeah, Patrick does a good job in making me trying to figure out what Corvette is actually gonna do. It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, from what you just said, you seem potentially even torn about like following Bronislav or Eladin. But Corvette may be less torn between the two.
He still is. So it was kind of interesting because with the loss of Artyom, that influence towards kind of the Saints was lost. That kind of the leaning towards, go back, seek out Bronislav, mend that bond. So he was definitely leaning towards Eladin at that point. But then hearing about Tian again, he's like finding out Tian is another Aesimer, so he has a Saint. So like a big thing about him, he's like, oh, what would Tian do in a way, is going through his mind. So that kind of resurrected the intricacies, the complications within this argument for himself. So but before, during that interim when like our team was gone and he hadn't heard about Tian, he was definitely starting to just lean towards just Eladin's been there, like I know what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got other stuff, but yeah, whatever, I'll handle it.
But it does make me wonder, what would, or rather, what has Tian done?
Oh.
He seems different. All right. Let's see. Keep going from here. Yeah. So for Sarah, let's talk about Piotr.
Okay, let's.
So first of all, there was this great exchange of like almost a full cross-examination of Piotr as he was trying to. Sorry, I am distracted by a bug. Go away. It's still here. Yeah, this conversation about I need to sleep in your room. So, what kind of tipped it to where Galena was like okay with it, or is she even okay with it? Like,
I wouldn't say she's 100% okay with it. Just because she's allowing it at this point.
yeah,
I mean, in her mind, she can always take it back and kick him out.
right. But what made her decide then to allow it?
Well, this new group that she has recently joined, the other two members of feel that this is something important that needs to happen so that he can be functional. And all of the other people on the ship are also connected with these people, either their soldiers or their sailors. She may be having a point where she's thinking, I'm in this situation here where I'm on a ship in the middle of the ocean with all these people that I don't actually know very well. And it's just me and my squirrel. No, things will be fine. I haven't overestimated my abilities here. Things will be fine.
Yeah, that things will be fine sounds a little bit more uncertain. Would you say?
She was
Or is
thoroughly
she-
convinced when she left the tower that her mother was exaggerating everything and she could handle this and then come back triumphant in her return. And now she's thinking, well, she's starting to have doubts.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's not that she's come out like scared, it's that she came out confident and now is getting a little uneasy.
Yeah, uneasy is a good way to put it. So when it comes to Piotr, does she 100% believe what he's told her? No. Is she 100% like, yeah, I have a new roommate, buddy, this is awesome? No, there's still gonna be more conversations. She's just decided at this point it wasn't worth putting up a big fuss about and shutting herself in her room and locking the door.
Right.
Because she also thoroughly believes still at this point that she could take him.
I mean, she probably could.
She did pretty good with the mimic ship.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just a one-on-one between the two of them, like, Bard's great with the party, but they don't have a lot of their own offensive capabilities.
And she has no idea what bards can do as far as that goes either. So she's never gotten the chance to test herself against anybody else. But she did pretty good against the mimic ship. That fireball was fun, so.
Now speaking of not necessarily trusting everything Piotr was saying, what about Piotr's explanation about the murder of Katya?
Yeah, they told her that he was wanted by bounty hunters, and she was thinking that it was maybe a misunderstanding or, self-defense, but the person's family disagrees, and so they've sicked bounty hunters on you. And now that he's like, no, I straight up murdered somebody, she's like, oh, okay then. Right. And you other two, you're totally fine with this. Oh. Yeah, so she's now been given pause as to like, oh, right, that's not how I thought this situation was. But why would he admit to murdering someone if he didn't do it?
Fair. Yeah. That's an odd story to use as a cover-up.
Exactly. You want this person to let you sleep in their bedroom. Why would you lead with, but I'm a murderer? of a helpless woman. So why would he lie like that? She can't figure out why that would be a lie. Doesn't seem like the way to get what you want.
Yeah. Though, in a strange way, it seems to have worked.
In spite of him being a murderer, he is getting to sleep on her floor. If somebody else comes up to her and says, I'm a murderer, I also want to sleep in your room, she's gonna... it's not gonna work a second time, I don't think.
Sensing a pattern here I don't quite like. Nice. All right. Let's move back over to Braden with yes. This is more of a theoretical question. Just as a player, what do you think Eldon is going to have you do in the future?
So many things. Because he's not... We all know he's creepy and weird. But he's not necessarily the most evil thing in the world or universe. He just likes causing problems, I think. So, like, the worst, like, as in, like, hurting someone else would be go kill Maeve, maybe? That would be an entertaining, you know, conundrum. And then Maeve's like, go kill Eladin. And I'm like, oh boy, what do I do? I promised both of them. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be go, like, in a sense, screw up somebody else's plans, but it's not gonna be kind of the profane guard, because I'm already doing that. It's gonna be like kind of on the edge. It's not all really bad, but it's not a good thing.
I mean, if it is Maeve, like, is Maeve good?
We have no idea. Maybe, kind of. Not really good. Neutral. I don't know. But he did also say in the conversation he's thinking bigger, right? Patrick, was that during their conversation?
That was during their conversation, but you then have to ask the question of what's bigger to
Eldon. Yeah. So he wants to, I don't know, take him somewhere else. Or turn him back from a spear into a weapon into whatever his other Fey form is. That'd be very not bad, I think. Hopefully. Maybe he's worse than Morpheus. I don't know.
You know, there's plenty of Fey in the Feywild. What's one more?
Exactly, right? I just took one with me in the mortal realm. That's all.
Patrick, aside from the mimic ship, what is the thing you are most proud of or occurrence you're most pleased with from the past few sessions?
I think at least for me, my proudest thing that I've done is probably the Yarick vision. Because Lydia messaged me and said, hey, this is the thing I want to do. And I was like, okay, didn't see that coming, but okay. And then what happened is I literally woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and just had a stream of consciousness where I was at, I was like, I need to get on my computer. I got on my computer, opened up Google Drive and just started writing everything that happened in the Yarg vision. So at least for me personally, that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of is the way that, it was presented and, everything. And, for me personally, obviously the second thing that I'm most proud of is the mimic ship. I love that thing. It'll make many reappearances. Unless someone manages to kill it eventually, it'll have reappearances in future campaigns, maybe even in this campaign, but we will see.
The mimic ship has recruited more and it is now a mimic armada.
There you go.
Don't give him ideas, please.
There's
There's plenty of those.
The enemies that you don't kill are allowed to progress to become a bigger problem. That's
true.
unless I mean, I'd say, I guess, maybe the enemies you don't defeat, right? You can defeat enemies in multiple ways. It's usually killing. All right, we got just a few questions left. A couple of them we've touched on a lot, but I guess for Sarah, we have been talking a bit about Piotr. There was one more question related to that. The question is, what are Galina's general thoughts on the curse and bond with Piotr? And I'm going to take that a step back. Does Galina believe that there is something real going on there? Like, does Piotr have headaches? Or is being affected by not having you in his sights?
She's starting to think there could be a thing, but since she also doesn't completely believe that Maeve is real yet, she's thinking maybe it's all psychological. She's read a lot of books.
So then, in her, considering that it could be real, what's her, response to that? How does she feel when she thinks, yeah, but if it is real, what's next?
Well, it goes along with the why. She's thinking, why me? I don't know this Fae. Why does this Fae want this person to keep an eye on me? And why do they think that I need him to keep an eye on me? I can throw fireballs, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very valid point. Piotr's just weak. I said it. So somebody do the air horns. Hot take. Come at me, Ian. No.
She doesn't completely believe that they've been chosen to save the world. But if they have been chosen to save the world, why has she been chosen to join them? Another one of those, why me?
Yeah. If you ask why me, you're in good company.
She's also asking,
all of them have asked why me.
If they have been chosen to save the world, why the murderer?
You said the word chosen, and it turned me back onto my old conspiracy theory about the chosen of Silhana and goings on in the kingdom. I always like kingdom or underground political schemes going on, so I'm just yeah, Patrick, you keep your eyes covered by your hat. All right, then let's go for Patrick. Can you tell us what Artyom and Drith are up to? Even in vague generalities, or I guess they will.
I mean, they're doing what they said they're doing. They're hunting down operations of the Profane Guard and attempting to put a stop to them. So they are also working to attempt to foil the the plans of the Profane Guard, stop the sacrifices, but with more sanctioned church and empire resources at their disposal versus these guys who kind of just are going with what they've got. Hope only able to rely on themselves and a few of their resources that some of them have from their positions in the world. But Artyom and Drith definitely have vastly more resources at their hand. Actually, probably spend more time actually kind of like relaxing than these guys do, because these guys, because the Chosen of Dawn have people out and scouting for them to find these things, and then when they find something, they report back, and then the Chosen of Silhana go and take care of it. And then so instead of trying to find the information themselves necessarily, they have people to do it for them.
That makes plenty of sense. And I guess there is Arkadi's wedding coming up, so we can expect some kind of report.
You will probably see them. They're at the wedding, yes.
Well, I gotta ask though, is Arkady actually a good guy?
I mean, yeah, he's the way I view him is, at least the way that I currently view him is, and definitely the way that I'm presenting him is that he is a legitimate. He legitimately wants to do good. He legitimately wants to help out his people. But it's the prince who has been raised, with a dissociation from the way that the lower, the lower classes are, and so he doesn't necessarily. So he has the best interests of the kingdom at heart, but he is, there's this gap in his knowledge that he needs to fill first, before he can actually be the best. But yeah, no, he has the desire to be a good person. He wants to be a good person. He's taken an oath as a winged one of Silhana to be a good person. It's time will tell whether or not he's able to fulfill that or not. And at least from my understanding, Artyom definitely plans to put his bid in for Emperor, for Tsar, once he is able to reveal his heritage. And Arkady has to, Artyom already has an upper hand just by purely if he's recognized as a legitimate son of the Tsar first. Obviously, he already has the upper hand of being an Aasimar. That's just an automatic, like 1,000 points towards becoming the next Tsar, and so Arkady has to work, probably twice as hard, as before, to prove that, yeah, I'm the one you really want over his Aasimar brother.
Okay, yeah, I was after a few sessions with him. I was perceiving him that way, but there's always that little question of like, what is Patrick up to? But yeah, is he like? Because he seemed really cool with the idea of like, well, yeah, if you're gonna put in a bid for Emperor, you should, like he seemed kind of encouraging almost of Artyom there. And
Arkady's always wanted an older brother. Mm-hmm. And so, and Arkady wants what's best for the Empire. That is Arkady's number one concern, is what's best for the Empire. And if he honestly won't be upset if Artyom gets legitimized and is the one voted into power by the electors. He is if Artyom ends up being if Artyom is the right choice for the Empire, that's who Arkady's going to want on the throne. But obviously Arkady is going to try his best to be the right choice for the Empire, and he kind of views it as a friendly brotherly competition rather than a political machinations, because Arkady hasn't had to deal with political machinations at this point. He hasn't had any siblings. For some reason, after his mother gave birth to him, his mother has been extremely sick since he was born, and so has been incapable of giving birth to any more children. So and then all his cousins and uncles and people have, died of various diseases and things, and so he hasn't had any competition. He's unused to, he's the politics of fighting for becoming the best choice, because he doesn't have any competition. So if he had been raised, if he already had other siblings, then he might have a different outlook on it. But not having other siblings, he's like, cool, awesome, great, friendly competition. I can get behind this. So,
oh, Patrick, you better not kill him. You've already got this manipulated, innocent boy who's naive about the world. Just try, gosh, he'd give up his kingdom if it was the right thing. You better not kill him.
I make no promises.
And he's getting married. And he's getting married.
I make no promises about the fate of anyone in the campaign. I will say that much. I make no promises about the fate of anyone. I've had several people ask me not to kill NPCs. I make no promises.
All right. I think here's our last question. And this one's for Braden. So this touches on a couple of the things that we've seen. The question is long. I'm going to ask the short part of it first. What was the most troubling surprise from the last session for Corvid? Now, the rest of the question goes on and suggests different things that happened that could be troubling, but I don't want to give those prompts.
All right, I want to hear them after I answer my initial thought. The discussion with Bronislav, where he is like a distant figure, just very, for like the first time, that's like Corvid, like he had that moment where his ASMR powers kind of flickered for a moment in battle, but then he again got knocked out 3 seconds later, and kind of was like, oh, it was my imagination. That was like the first manifestation of like, no, like we are losing the bond together. So this is real. This is a issue. What are you gonna do about it? So that's what I would say is Corvid's, in his mind, is like the biggest revelation. That is his problem. Followed by that he was probably played in getting everyone drunk at the dinner for ulterior motives again. And he very much does not like when people use them for not apparent reasons. So that's the two I would say, the two biggest ones.
Yeah, so the question did mention being given an ultimatum by an angel, or seeing Jelania with Antivin as two of those. I do want to step out when you were talking about Bronislav. Yeah, I guess for as a player, like Nasimar is cool, but mechanically your race doesn't give you a ton, whereas like Warlock. So, but as a character,
See what I'm dealing with here? Trying to. What identity does Braden want Corbett to have, and what identity should the story actually end up with? I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm having myself, Braden, I'm having a very hard time, like, because it's definitely leading. Who knows what could happen in this amazing, incredible world Patrick's made of random events of all sorts. But it's definitely leading towards a decision of, okay, am I going to stay, with Eldon, Hexblade Warlock, or am I going to stay as an Aasimar with Bronislav? And what else happens? I don't know. So Sorry, was that the question at all that you had? I was just like,
Yeah, that was definitely
I just-
getting to the point of my.
oh, okay, because I'm like, because there's both parts aspects to it. It's funny because Corvette is actually a character, not the same name or same background, but an Aesimer Hexblade Warlock that I started in a former campaign that I only got like 2 or 3 sessions into, and then it kind of fell apart. And I was like, I love that idea of that character, of that just like, oh, an Aesimer Hexblade, that sounds super cool. So that's why I kind of revamped it into Corvette. And now I have to make a choice of what do I want to play as, or what would fit the storytelling to play as. So yeah, it's just very interesting. Like, oh, that's something I wanted to play, and now I'm like, huh, now I gotta choose, huh? This is interesting. Didn't see that one coming.
And to clarify, at least from my end, clearly I would, if Corvette makes the decision to go and follow Bronislav, like Bronislav said, they wouldn't leave him powerless. So it's not like he would, by choosing to leave the path of the Hexblade Warlock, he would then be classless. He would some form of replacement. Me and Braden have talked about this a little bit. There is he would have a replacement class. He would, that, and features, everything that comes with this replacement class. So,
and I assume something in place of Asimar if he goes the other way.
Yeah, something in place of Asimar. That one's a little bit more up in the air. We've been talking about that. It kind of depends on how exactly he goes about rejecting the, rejecting the Dawn. Not the Dawn, sorry, that's my other world. Rejecting the Saints, if, how badly he rejects them. Because I think we've talked about it before. It's a DNA thing, obviously. There's just a DNA, something in his DNA that can get turned on and off by celestial powers, or even those of non-celestial origin if they are strong enough. It depends on how badly he pisses the the Saints off on his way out. If he takes the way out.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now, I will let you know what the other options were in the question. One was being ambushed by an entire ship of mimics.
Ghosts.
And the other...
Ghosts. It was the worst nightmare of Corbett's life. Second compared to what actually happened before the campaign, but ghosts, man, he hates ghosts now. Like, I'm telling you, if Patrick brings ghosts into this campaign more now, Corbett's gonna freak out a little bit. He's yeah. He's like, following me.
The other was learning that Tien has a big new spiky sword, which...
Not the worst, but it's like, the heck?
Yeah.
Like, oh. He was like, please don't have another Spettler on our hands.
Yeah. That's definitely similar to thoughts I've had, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have just a little question again on your other, worst thing, the seeing Jelania with Antovin, or finding out that you had been kind of used.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more than just like the being used that Corbett's feeling? Like, yeah, is there anything else tied up with Jelania and or Antovin? And like, Corbett's a noble. He knows a lot of these people had connections previously.
Yeah, no, he definitely was very fond of Jelania. Kind of his whole life, like, he obviously, like, Rayla was like his childhood friend, and he grew up knowing her and stuff and all of that, and all the people from his monastery he grew up in are gone, are dead, and so everyone else, like just living in, like, he didn't, like, obviously his father would try and set him up with like different um other nobles and stuff, alliances, whatnot, but they never panned out, and he never like felt they were real, or like just being real to themselves is always just about, oh, you're an ASMR, you're a noble, and you're an ASMR. Oh yeah, uh, all of that jazz. And he's like, none of it's real. So like, Jelani's like one of the first like interests he's ever had, probably out besides Rayla, that where he felt is like, oh, she's just normal around me. Like, she's just, she doesn't care about like me being an ASMR and stuff. So that was part of it. But he does have a gripe about being kind of used.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to help people, but like learning is like he was used. He really hates that. It's one of his biggest pet peeves,
Well,
but like even bigger. I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah,
I,
maybe some daddy issues there.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, there's some of that, and there's also like the whole monastery event. He was used in a sense, so that just all of that kind of just the idea he hates.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks to all of you for chatting with me, having just the characters and world that you guys create. Thanks everyone out in the audience for sticking with us. It's been a great time here for us. Hope it has been for you too. And yeah, come on over on Monday. We'll have some fun then. And before that, come watch me on Friday. And have a good one. See you.